Watchmaking, the bi-weekly podcast diving deep into the world of watches, craftsmanship, and the industry. Join us as we uncover personal stories behind your favorite timepieces, explore the latest trends, and discuss business strategies. I am Elizabeth Isakova, your guide in this journey. Coming from a background in political journalism, I am excited to explore the intricate world of watches with you and ask uncomfortable questions. Whether you are a collector, enthusiast, or professional, watchmaking is your gateway to the fascinating realm of horology. Hello and welcome to the new episode of Watchmaking, our podcast on watches and watchmaking. And as we are approaching the end of the year, and yes, it's going to be in a couple of months already, everyone is wondering what watch will be the watch of the year, or which one we can name the watch of the year. And today we have a special guest with whom we will discuss this burning issue. So please welcome Raymond Loretan, the president of Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, the Geneva Grand Prix for the watches, like the watches Oscars. And we will talk about the Grand Prix and also the best watch of the year. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me here. And I'm looking forward to our discussion.
That's great. And before we begin, I would like to ask you one important question. How did you came to watches? How did you came to watchmaking and this industry in general? Because I know that you've been a diplomat. You've been assigned to a diplomatic work for many, many years. And you've been a president. You became a president of GPHG only in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. 2018. And so please tell us a little bit about your background and how did you end up in watches?
Yes. As you know, I am a former diplomat and I was based as Swiss ambassador in Singapore for 5 years. And over there, it was in the late 90s. I had a lot of contact with the watch industries. It was the time when all the brands were opening boutiques, and I was all the time in touch with CEOs, watchmakers, and other marketing specialists. And I was also involved in opening up all these boutiques, and that was my contact. It's interesting because now as the president of the GPHG, I meet many people that I knew already at that time. And I became president by chance because the former president, Carlo Lamprecht, asked me to. And I think it's not so much as somebody who is knowledgeable in watchmaking, which is not my case, but it's more as an ambassador, as a kind of promoter of a project and of a industry. Because throughout my career as an ambassador, in Singapore, but especially also in the United States, I had the opportunity to make promotion programs, big one, the largest one for Switzerland. One was called Swiss Roots, was to target the 1 million American of Swiss origin to rediscover their homeland. And so I think that's why Carlo Lamprecht thought I could be the president, which main task is to promote the Grand Prix.
Yeah, be the ambassador of the culture.
But especially around the world.
Be the ambassador of the cultural heritage of Switzerland in general.
Not of Switzerland, of the watchmaking industry, because we made many changes in the GPHG since 2020, and one of the founding principles is universality. So what we want to do is really be the promoter of the watchmaking industry, but above all of the watchmaking art, because we think that by 2030, the watchmaking art as such should be recognized as the 12th art by UNESCO.
Yeah, but UNESCO has already recognized Swiss watchmaking as well as also.
They recognized in 2020 the watchmaking know-how, but not as an art. They recognized the watchmaking know-how as a cultural heritage of mankind. But we would like to see the watchmaking as such recognized as an art.
Yeah, that's
which is one of the target, the mission of the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie.
That's a hard one.
Yes, it's a difficult one. It's ambitious, but with the help of everybody, and that's important that people talk about it, I'm sure we will achieve it.
For sure, it will be the case. But coming back to watches, like, have you experienced the certain passion towards watches when you was in Singapore and you started to be introduced into this world?
It's not passion so much in watches, but it's passion in the kind of values the watches are representing.
In people?
For people. And why? Because today we are in a very network connected world. If you look around you, everybody is looking at this iPhone. I was just in Vietnam this week in New York. We came back yesterday. That's the common heritage today is watch at your iPhone for everybody. And I think now, including the young people, they need also to find symbols for values. And I think a watch today is not only here to give the time, of course, but also to present some intangible values like tradition, like innovation, like precision, and. And I think it's a compensation against this frenetic world in the one we are now.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to present something that you don't actually need in the world of smartwatches, smartphones, and everything. Because as you said,
but I think you need spirit, you need values.
Values for sure, but
yes.
I'm talking about the timepieces themselves.
Oh yes, because the timepiece is not only a symbol, it's also a piece of art. Let's just look at the 90 watches we are presenting this year. It's just incredible. The alliance between innovation, creativity, and tradition is just incredible. And that's the kind of things you want to buy today and you want to see every day at your wrist or in your collection because they reflect the time, but also not only in the real sense of the word, but also somehow in the spiritual dimension.
That's, I think, very important thing that you just mentioned, because it's important also to note for the brands that are selling watches that they don't need to sell the watches as a tool or as a thing, but it's more of this cultural heritage and the spirit.
But I think they are aware of it. If you look at the marketing campaign and the slogans and so on, there is always a message behind the watch message. And which is beautiful, and that's why it is working. It is working, of course. Now you can say there is a low, and then in 5 years it's going to be a high again. I think if you look at the long term, besides the cycle, the economic cycles, I think the watch industry has a nice future ahead of it.
And I hope especially Swiss watch industry.
But also Swiss watch industries, because Swiss watch industries showed the way for a very long time, and it's very nice that thanks the Swiss watch industry we could awake the interest for a watch industry in other regions of the world. And it's interesting to notice that more and more in other regions of the world you can see the opening of watch schools, like in Dubai, like in India, like in other places in the world. That's the purpose of it.
Yeah, that's exactly the question I was going to ask you. You mentioned that you traveled a lot, and now especially with the GPHG prize. Have you noticed in the years while you are the president of the GPHG, have you noticed the rise of the interest towards watches, watchmaking in the world?
What I can say is everywhere where I go, there is a huge interest. There is a huge interest by watch enthusiasts, by watchmakers, by collectors, by, of course, distributors and clients and buyers, but more and more by younger people. who I'm sure are looking beyond the watch and are looking for something different. And I think we have to invest in the watchmaking industry. We have to invest in the young people, in the education of young people, not only to understand the watch, not only to buy watches, but also to rediscover the professions behind the watch and to stimulate them and to motivate them to learn this kind of profession, this craftsmanship behind the watches.
Yeah, it's true, because it's been a discussion that's lasted for a couple of years or even more now, that the industry, especially in Switzerland, is lacking of watchmakers, professional watchmakers, so people who want to learn and to study and become watchmakers.
Yes, and that's one of the priority of the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, also to invest in education.
Yeah, because you have a special prize that you...
Absolutely, but not only. We have prizes, but we organize tour, we organize platform, we organize lessons also to learn how to make a watch. And we want to do it not only here when we are in Geneva in November during this 3 weeks exhibition at the Rat Museum, but also abroad when we exhibit the nominees in all parts of the world.
Yeah, we'll come back to this later a little bit, but if we talk about the GPHG, imagine you're talking to someone who has no idea about the prize. What are the 3 main things that people should know about the GPHG?
Well, first of all, GPHG is the Oscar of the watches. So everybody can identify with the film Oscars in Hollywood and they understand what it is. But the 3 main, I would just mention the 3 founding principles of the GPHG. First of all is neutrality. GPHG is a competition, but it's absolutely impartial. And I can, of course, elaborate around it with the creation of the Academy in 2020. We have now over 1,000 members. I think just below 1,000 members. I think it's totally impartial. It's not possible to manipulate a selection body of 1,000 people. The second thing is universality, not only through the selection process, because this academy is recruiting members throughout the world, but also because we are open to all watches, not only Swiss watches, and more we have non-Swiss made watches competing also for the GPHG.
And even winning prizes.
And even winning prizes, which is good. And everywhere where I go, in the States or in Vietnam this year, I encourage them to compete, to present a watch. And the third principle is solidarity. Solidarity means also to encourage all the brands to participate to this Grand Prix as a sign of solidarity for the industry, for the branch, even if there is no guarantee to win. It's a little bit the Olympic spirit saying that participating is already winning. So these 3 principles are the GPHG today.
But still, however big GPHG is, there is lack of some well-known brands. I will not name them, but yes, I think who am I talking about?
Yes and no. There are some brands.
Okay, do you feel that there's a lack of some big brands in the show?
We can, as I said, with solidarity and universality, we aim to be universal and to have as many brands as possible. And for me, the brands who have the courage to compete, they show this kind of solidarity. And you say there are big brands who are not competing, but you have big brands who are competing and who shows this solidarity. For the one who are not competing, first of all, brands cannot compete every year. You know, there are some brands which were absent during several years, but they were there, and maybe they come again. And for the others, I think Of course, we talk to their CEO and to them, but I think the best way to convince them is to improve even the quality of the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie, and sooner or later, I think they will come.
Okay, so speaking about improvements, you've been the president of the GPHG for many years now. What do you think should be improved, or
Yes.
what are you planning to improve?
Well, first of all, I think we changed the paradigm of the selection in 2020 in creating this academy. This academy grew from 300 in 2020 to now 1,000. So the 25 will be over 1,000 academicians. So we can increase, I think, the efficiency of this academy on the one hand, the selection of the academician, but also the mission of this academician, because there are as many ambassadors of the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie throughout the world. And what we are thinking of, starting at 25, 26, is to give to them an additional promotion mission to the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève. That's one thing. But you know, we needed these 5 years really to assess and also to make the proof that this academy was working. And we are really very happy about the results. So for the next 5 years, as I said before, first of all is to maybe to give an additional mission to the academician, maybe to increase the universality of the Grand Prix, in opening even more to emerging brands, but also the solidarity, which means, and we are thinking of giving also a caritative dimension to this Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève. You know, we go to many countries, we're representing high-value watches, and we see also around us in this country that not everybody can afford them. So there is a thought of doing something maybe for the less privileged people around us. And the last thing, I mentioned it at the beginning, is really to promote the art of watchmaking in a way or in another. Mm-hmm. You said rightly that the know-how, watchmaking know-how was recognized by UNESCO. I think it could deserve an additional recognition, and we'll see how we work in this direction. So we have plans.
Yeah, a lot of plans. Can we come quickly back to this qualitative part of the Grand Prix? You mentioned about the charity part at some point. Will it be like another foundation, or will it be within the foundation that is currently existing?
We don't know yet. It's just a thought that I give you to chew on. But we cannot do.
We have people listening to this podcast.
I know,
you know?
absolutely, they can chew with us.
Yeah.
No, we won't do anything that is compromising our primary mission.
So it will be related to watchmaking watches.
Somehow, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe we don't do it because people will say, well, you're compromising the neutrality or whatever. But at least we will think about it.
Yeah, it's a good thing to think, a good thought to reflect.
And sometimes when you think aloud, it's just an appeal to think with us. And maybe there are ideas coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So coming back to the academy, how to become a member of the academy?
Well, you have to qualify, to have a real acquaintance with watchmaking. You know that we have several colleges in this academy, collector, watchmakers, enthusiasts, journalists, and then younger people, academy, junior academy. We call it junior academy, but actually it's just one of the college of the academy. So we do it by cooptation. That means 3 academicians has to propose one additional one, and then we look at the CV and at the competence, and then we accept or not.
And then academicians, how does it work? I mean,
it works by we have a platform, internet platform, which is secured, and which is overwatched also by notaries, and all the selection process is through internet. And that's why we need a final jury which can look at the watches physically. Mm-hmm. But all the final jury, the 30 people of the final jury for the final selection, they are academicians.
Okay, so to understand it better, so at some point you receive a lot of requests, information from the watch brands or watchmakers?
No, from us, yes.
And no. The thing is that I was trying to recreate the process of choosing the watch for the price. So you receive the request from the brand or from the watchmaker to present your watch? To present the watch?
It doesn't work this way.
It doesn't work. Okay, so how does it work?
The academicians are proposing the watches, and then the brands have to accept to be candidate, to be nominee, or they can propose themselves a watch. That's how the way it works. And then the academician select 90 watch out of 15 categories. You have the 15 categories this year, means 90 watches. And then out of these 90 watches, you're going to have the jury, which is going to select the winners. But within the vote of the jury, the academicians worldwide are also voting. And their vote is 1/3 white of the final jury vote. So not, at the end of the votes, at the end of the day, you have one day where you have jury, nobody knows who won. Mm-hmm. Only the lawyers and the notary know the results because it's under notary supervision.
It seems very secure, yeah.
It's very secure. And myself, I don't know the vote till the award ceremony. I don't want to know the votes, the results, because I'm with many journalists all the time. And they ask me all these kind of questions. The better way to not to say anything is not to know.
Yeah, that's true sometimes.
But of course, there are one or two people, and the director general of the GPHG, Karine Maillard, and our team, they know because they have to organize the award ceremony. Mm-hmm. But that's all. So there is no external influence possible. And I think this process is quite recognized as totally impartial and neutral. And that's why we don't wear watches at the GPHG. Mm-hmm.
So will
don't
not
ask me what kind of watch do you wear and so on.
Okay, I will check at the Grand Prix
Yeah,
if you're
check.
wearing or not a watch.
No.
But it's good to be impartial in that way. And
not is good. It's the legitimacy of the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Is absolutely indispensable.
But still, in the jury, you have also like the CEOs of the brands. So
yes.
How does you
have some CEOs of branches, but they are not competing. They can be in the jury if no watch is competing that year. Mm-hmm. And even you have the CEO of the brand which won the Aiguille d'Or, but
year.
They cannot run either.
Okay, so if a brand wins Aiguille d'Or, this brand cannot compete the next year.
Exactly, but the CEO is in the jury.
Okay, so that's more clear.
Yes.
But how do you pick? There are several categories that you mentioned. How do you pick categories?
You mean the category? Well, every year we have the classic categories which will almost never change, men's, women, and so on. Well, women, men, sometimes we ask if we shouldn't make a gender neutral, and we have this discussion every year.
It's a very important discussion, I think.
For the time being, we still have ladies, men, and so on. This year we introduced a new category, which is the time-only category, because we wanted to rediscover the old tradition of simple watches with only three hands. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. We got many candidates. And we introduced also a new prize, which is the Eco Innovation Prize, which will award the most sustainable watch. And this prize does not have to be given. If the jury thinks there is no watch deserving this price, so we won't give it. So, but this is new, and we just want to give a signal to watches that we are also looking at this kind of dimension. Eco-innovation, we introduced it very slowly. Before it was within the description of the innovation prize. But it was not mandatory. Today, it's mandatory in the Eco-Innovation Prize. And tomorrow, we may make a category out of it, from a prize to a category, who knows? But these are things we discuss in December. After each edition, we look at the results, we discuss the tendency, the trends, and what can be reconduct for the next year, or what could be changed. It's not something static.
Yeah, it's always moving and changing.
It's always moving, but very slowly.
Yeah, but still this year you have
cautiously.
Yeah. But
why? Because we cannot move alone. We have to move with the industry, and we don't want to give the lead. We want to exemplify and to be a platform for the trends. Our mission is not to make trends, or it's not our job. Our job is really to create a platform to recognize trends, to exemplify trends, or to award trends.
Yeah, actually, that was my question. Like, if you think that GPHG imposes trends in a certain way.
No, we don't impose. We don't want to impose. We should be, but we should stimulate people for new trends, for new creation, for new creativity, for innovation. Because when you see the categories, of course, the watchmaker, they think, well, this year I'm going to run with this one or with this one, yeah, and so on. So it's a real discussion within the brands, you know. And they anticipate. Many brands say, well, this year we're not ready, but next year we're coming, and so on. It's very interesting. And I think we really play this stimulating effect.
Yeah, because I've seen in some categories, you see a watch which, and at some point will be suitable for another category. And this is also interesting. Yes,
you can be only in one category. But we also have a kind of arbiter when a watch is coming and is running for one category and we think it's another one. We tell them, well, listen, would be more suitable for this category. It's a discussion.
Yeah. And you said that you were talking about the innovations. And I know that this year, you already mentioned, you introduced 2 new categories. What will be different this year from the previous years at the ceremony?
At the ceremony? What is going to be different is that for a few years it's going to be the last year at the at the Théâtre du Léman because they will renovate the hotel and this theater.
So location is new.
So we're going to have to change location. But I'm not going to tell you which one because we will announce it. It's like at the stock exchange, we have to consider all the shareholders.
Okay, it's a secret.
No, it's not a secret, but in Geneva, it's not so easy to find such a large room because we gather 1,500 people.
Have you ever considered moving to another location? Or you think Geneva is the perfect place for such
We have considered to move to another location only occasionally to give a signal, and I cannot exclude it. But Geneva will remain our central location because Geneva is a symbol also of the watchmaking industry, is also the cradle of the watchmaking. One of them, the most important cradle, one of the most important, I have to be careful, one of the most important cradle of the watch industry. No, and we are supported also by Geneva City and the city and the state of Geneva, and we're working together. But why not? One wants to give a message. It's like, for example, the WEF ones who went to New York because they couldn't do it in Davos. Why not? I cannot say never. but never for good.
Okay, but you're still moving around the world to present
Well,
the
we have
selection of watches.
Yes, we have always, in October, we have this international roadshow, and we're going to the main cities. Where we are going is to mature markets, but also to emerging markets. Like we went to Vietnam this year, and it was amazing. We had an incredible success, and the watch industry in Vietnam is doing very well. So far, we were informed. We went to New York. We're just coming back from New York, and also the American market and New York market is doing fine.
Have you considered the Indian market? Because
we were 2 years ago.
Yeah, because there's a certain
Indian
fuzz
market,
around the Indian market now.
Yes, Indian market is very dynamic, and actually, I think they're going to create a watch school in India. So yes. No, we are looking at the different market, but the decision to go somewhere is on the one hand, what kind of market is it? And the second hand, do we find a suitable partner? Mm-hmm. Because we are a very small organization, so we are not able to organize an exhibition abroad ourselves. So we need on the spot a good partner, a solid partner to support us in the organization and also in the marketing and. Yep. And we also have mostly the support of the Swiss embassies and consulate, and they're always ready to support us. I think it's when you are selected watches, a nominee watches, already you have a huge publicity, because your watch is traveling throughout the world, is presented by experts. And I must say, I'm amazed. We were with partners in Vietnam with the Hourglass, and here in New York City with Watches of Switzerland. And the way they welcome and organize the exhibition was extremely professional. And we had experts at every table, which there are 4 or 5 tables every time. And these experts could explain every watch. What is the qualities and the specification of the watches. They take it very seriously. And I can say our exhibition abroad are very high-end events. And I'm saying that for future sponsors who would be interested to support us.
Or maybe future academicians.
Future academician, every time we go in a country, we are looking around, we meet people, many people. We meet many journalists, and I'm always amazed to see the interest the journalists have and the press in general have for the watch industry. And we're spotting also a few academicians every time.
Yeah, so you're growing like this as well. It's nice to know.
Yes, we try to know our people, and the larger we will be, the higher will be the quality of our academician.
Yeah, and more interesting it will be for the participating brands and watches.
It's a process, ongoing process.
And you also mentioned...
And then the last one will join.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that there will be a lot of activities this year surrounding the presentation, especially in Geneva, but I suspect that you brought some activities also with you to New York or to Vietnam. Can you name a few?
Well, activities organized by us is mainly within the exhibition, where we do really presentation of partners, a presentation for young people, seminars, tours, experts, and that it's really to emphasize the educational aspect of watchmaking. We started with this 2-3 years ago, and now it's like with the academy, we need 2-3 more years to enhance this education and dimension, including when we travel. And there we still have quite a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I know that you have a special, if I can say so, a course. I think it's a training, 1 hour training or 2 hours training to assemble a watch.
Exactly, yes.
Which is interesting. And this part of the exhibition, it's travels also?
No, it
stays in Geneva.
Travel. That's what I said. In Geneva, really, we get the support of the state of Geneva really to do this, specific support to do this. And when you travel, it's more complicated. First, it must be possible to do it in the location where we are, and secondly, you need to have the experts. But we always ask our partner to keep half a day open for young people, to invite the school or students to the exhibition where we have a discussion. We present the Grand Prix, the experts are presenting the watches, and. And the discussion is very stimulating. And that's why I can talk the way I do about young people, because what I'm saying, it's not me, it's them, who said that they look into these watches like somehow a refuge for values which they cannot find in an iPhone.
Yeah, and it's also very mechanical. I mean,
yes, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's not electronic.
It's work with your hands.
With your hands, but connected to something that is very mysterious, which is time, and which gives you kind of dimension that you cannot really describe and not master.
Yeah, I think that's why we are in this industry, because we admire people who are so passionate about everything that's related to watches, the mechanisms, design of the watches as well.
Absolutely. It's passion. It's about passion.
Yeah, passion-driven.
And emotion.
And speaking about passion and emotion, out of the categories that you named that's been with the GPHG or that's been announced for this year, 2 new categories, which one would be your favorite?
You know our first principle of neutrality and impartiality.
not to say anything, but it will stay here.
No, that's my diplomat dimension. I will not mention any preferences.
Okay, which one do you find is the most interesting for this year?
They're all interesting. They all have a purpose. What is interesting is not so much the categories, but are the watches themselves. And they are all quite interesting because if they were not, would not have been selected. Terrible answer of a diplomat.
It's a diplomatic answer. Very nice, neutral one. But we're in Switzerland, so it's okay. I will ask you quite a controversial question, but I think some people might want to know the answer, though. Have you ever considered to add the category of the smartwatches?
We discussed it, but we don't need to add it because smartwatches, they can run. They can apply. And if the Academy is selecting one, the jury will have to decide. They are not excluded of the competition, but they are not categorized. So that's the answer today.
What about quartz watches? Because some people, they think that quartz watches and mechanical watches are different.
They can compete, but
but not for the different separate category.
We wouldn't make a category of them, though.
Okay, that's good to know. Maybe for some, but it's also good to know about the future of the categories. And I will go a little bit further into details. I think that's, I mean, as a diplomat, you can avoid answering this, but I can't help but asking you about your preferences in style of the watches. What particular thing, what particular feature of the watch that you value more in a timepiece?
But you know, you're always saying as a diplomat, but the characteristic of a diplomat is to be able anytime to talk to everybody and to be credible. And now if I give you my preferences, I'm sure somebody will be mad. Somebody will be happy and somebody will be mad. So that's why we really force ourselves not to express any preference. That's part of the job. And when I look at the nominees, I really look at them very carefully, you know. And I have my preferences, of course. And it is always difficult because they are really always all very beautiful. I have my preference, and I make my internal bets in my head, not even with Karine Maillard.
In the past years, have you won some of your bets?
That's a secret.
But I don't ask you to name the watch or the brands, just like, to...
Not far.
Okay. So you were close. Have you?
I was close, but I'm training. So every time I ask, well, in this category, this one could be the winner.
We do the same here.
I'm sure. But you can do it openly.
Yeah, but it's so fun, to do the bets and By the way, everyone who is listening to this, you can also do your bets, and put in the comments which watch you prefer from.
But we are in a very sensitive business, and we really have to be, as the organizer of the Grand Prix, we are not involved in the jury, and we are just a neutral platform to run the thing. So we cannot give the wrong signals. And the jury member shouldn't either. Also, the jury member, it's quite a demanding task. And we ask them, at the beginning of the session, there is a one-day session for the final selection, to swear not to disclose the discussion and the way they select the watches and so on. For the time being, it worked.
Even
not too many leaks.
Even after the selection took place.
Well, I think most of them are still very discreet, and yes, of course, it's also for after the selection. Yes, it's like the bank secrecy.
Oh, yeah.
Not really that. No, because credibility of a prize is extremely important.
And neutrality.
Yes, and if you want all the brands to participate, you must not be. You must be really impeccable in this dimension. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, of course, you're somehow. How do you say that? Not to be able to say what you think is sometimes difficult, but that's the key of success sometimes also.
Yeah, but
frustrated, that's the word I was looking. Sometimes you are frustrated not to say what you think, but
I can sense this as a journalist, when you know the information that you want to split out, but you can't tell to anyone, it's really hard.
Yes.
It's a torture. But can an academician become a jury member, or you select jury members from everywhere?
I said it before. Yeah. All the jury members are academicians. And they're chosen by draw, half of it, and half of them by the president of the jury.
Okay, so it's half and half.
Yes. It's try to keep balance, checks and balances in the composition of the jury. I think it's a good system.
Yeah, and
for the time being.
And you have a very good balance, gender balance as well.
Could be improved, but
there's always room for improvement.
There is always room for improvement, also in the watchmaking industry.
That's for sure.
A lot of room for women, and if we can help to promote it, we'd be happy. We try, and that's why, for example, the selection of the jury, we have an eye on it, but it's by draw. We have no influence. But the president of the jury has a small influence, but competence should be the priority.
Yeah, but I think the jury member that you're talking about is quite competent.
Well, absolutely, yes.
And speaking about the industry as a whole, have you noticed any differences in the industry at the moment? Because there are some discussions that the market is going down and that this will affect the industry, watch industry. As a president of GPHG, how do you look at all this?
But first of all, I'm the president of the GPHG, and I'm not an economist. It's not that I am making economic perspective for the watch industry. What I can say is when we went to Asia this year, in Southeast Asia, people were not so pessimistic. It was good. Everybody knows that there is a law in China. But as I said before, the economy is cyclic, so it will come again, depending how the geopolitical situation of the world is evolving, and nobody can know this. Mm-hmm. And you go to the States, the situation is stable. It's stable and positive. So, and there again, you don't know what's going on. There are elections. What's the influence on the economy? How do the customer react? Do they look at the watches as a luxury product you can put aside, or is it a refuge to place your money? These are all speculation. But you know, when you look at the economic forecast, there are as many opinions as specialists.
Yeah, and you have not only luxury timepieces.
Absolutely.
That's running for the price.
There is no big concentration process. There are small concentration, but not big concentration process in view. So, but there are some.
But
there are some groups who have ambitions and some less, and so on. This we observe in a neutral way, without interfering.
And speaking about trends, what do you think is the biggest achievement in your 6 years of being the president of GPHG? What is the biggest achievement of the industry, in your opinion?
Of the industry? Well, it's to go through COVID crisis and remain or become even more innovative and creative, which is showing that the watchmaking industry is extremely sustainable. So I think that was an achievement, and for us the achievement was to create the academy and to change the paradigm of selection process.
Yeah. So I know that you're completely neutral, and you should be completely neutral as a president of GPHG, but I still want to ask you a couple of personal questions, watch-related personal questions that we always ask our guests.
Go ahead.
And but I will change them a little bit. So my first question will be, what was your first watch?
My father's watch, and I already gave it to my son.
But you keep it...
Keep an eye on
for the generations.
No, my son will do whatever he wants with it. But I thought it was a nice gesture of my. It's. I'm not going to tell you the brand, but it was a nice gesture of my father to pass to me his first watch, and then I did the same with my son.
That's a good inheritance, in a way. Because, as you mentioned, the watch is not only the tool, it's
watch is tradition also.
Tradition, yeah. It's a good way to pass on the tradition. So maybe he will pass on to his son this watch.
Not yet. He doesn't have a son yet.
Never
or daughter.
Never.
No, I hope not. I hope he will. He's still young.
Okay. So the next question was about the 3 most important aspects or features of the watch for you. But you said that you should be neutral, so maybe you just can...
No, but in one word, is this bridge between tradition and innovation. You know, tradition in the manufactured watch are representing a lot of tradition, a lot of craftsmanship and so on, but they need to innovate. They are confronted to the latest technology. And I think this bridge between the past and the future is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. But when you're picking up your watch, if you're buying one, will you be looking more on the aesthetics or technological sides, craftsmanship, or on the feeling that you have related to this watch? Emotions.
If I buy a watch, which I did lately, I'm only looking if it will please the person I'm going to give it to.
So it's emotional.
Yes, if you want.
Okay. Watches, as you mentioned, is a great gift and has been like a great gift also in a diplomatic world. Have you ever gave a watch to someone as a present being a diplomat, or have you ever received a gift, such gift, when you were a diplomat?
Yes, both. I gave, but not as as on behalf of the Swiss government. There was, I'm not sure it still is, but they had as one of the official president of the Swiss Confederation, they had the Atmos clock, which they gave to president or so on. So since when I was based in Singapore or in New York, I got a lot of official visit with member of government, and sometimes they were offering this kind of watches. And some other watches were giving, but of smaller values. You know, when you do promoting even of Switzerland, of course, watches are very much, that's not we, but Swiss Tourists, Switzerland Tourism, and other organizations that give many watches. I got some watches as present, but I never accepted it. Because as ambassador, you shouldn't accept any present. And I had a situation where it was very embarrassing, because to give back a present, it's always complicated. So either you give it back or you have to give it to the Swiss Confederation.
It's a donation.
Yes, it's a donation, and you have to write on which occasion and.
Yeah.
But I think it's always embarrassing to offer to an official an expensive watch. But it depends on the culture. But for a Swiss, it's first of all, it's not allowed to accept. I think presents below 200 francs or something like that. And secondly, it's always a little bit an embarrassing situation, because culturally we don't understand the thing the same way. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's without second thoughts. You know, it's just generosity and a sign of gratitude. But in the Swiss mentality, it's not understood like that.
Yeah, plus there is a diplomatic code, I suppose,
yes,
that exists. So the last question. If you can meet and have a dinner with one person from the watchmaking realm, dead or alive, who will it be?
Oh my God. I had many encounter, lunch and dinner with, I'm going to take somebody who is very neutral and recognized and got the Life Award Prize with Mr. Beaver. Always good time.
That's a good choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope to see you at the prize, at the ceremony, and I will be watching closely if you will be wearing a watch or not.
Okay, normally I should be there. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's it for today. Until next time, viva watchmaking.